welcome to the Cannabis Minority Report podcast, powered by the National Cannabis Industry Association, also known as the NCIA, one of the largest and most well-known professional trade organizations in the industry. I am your host, Khadijah Adams, founder of Girl Get That Money, a business empowerment coaching and consultancy firm. I'm also the founder of the Green Street Academy, an online educational academy where we teach you the basics of investing in cannabis stocks. The goal of our show here at the Cannabis Minority Report podcast is really to highlight minority entrepreneurs in the space and share weekly news updates about what they're doing in the space as well, and doing for the industry and the community as a whole. We interview minority entrepreneurs, minority-owned companies that support social equity applicants themselves, as well as a host of other cannabis industry leaders and pioneers. Joining me today is my special guest, Michael Webster. He is the founder of Exspiravit. I hope I'm saying that right. If not, he's going to correct me when it's time for us to bring him on, okay? But it's spelled Exspiravit, Exspiravit. Maybe I said it right that time, who knows, but we'll get it right when we get him on, right? So when we return for our commercial break, we will catch you up on the latest news about minorities in the cannabis space, and we'll learn more about Michael's journey into the cannabis industry. So if you're watching us on Facebook, now is a great time to hit that share button. If it's where it is, we don't know, but hit that share button, or better yet, mention us in your timeline, or just tag some of your friends so that they can be watching along with you. We'll be back right after these messages.
It is the budding dispensary of knowledge.
We want to be more than just the PubMed of cannabis, the Google Scholar of cannabis. We want to be a continuing education platform that is easily accessible.
We see this as being able to leave a legacy for the entire industry and really elevate this plant to where it deserves to be.
Staying alive was no job at second hand. Moms bounced on old men.
Hey, you guys. So let me tell you about the library. So the Library of New Jersey is hosting an expungement clinic this month, November 23rd, 2021. And the library is a minority-owned company that is seeking to enter the New Jersey cannabis market. The founders are Corey Dishman and Charles Penn. I know these guys, they are amazing. In fact, Corey is actually working on his PhD, and Charles is also working to complete his master's. So I'm really excited to be behind these guys. And, you know, unfortunately, New Jersey is a bit behind on their promise. And they haven't begun the process of, you know, taking in those applications. New Jersey, what's up? Like, catch up and get this thing going. You know, so while they're waiting, they've decided not to stop or on their promise that they made to the community, right? To help people to really get their previous or prior cannabis-related charges expunged. And so they're hosting this expungement clinic. It's going to take place at the Cambria Hotel on 12 Rooney Circle in West Orange, New Jersey. So the expungement clinic is calling on all people with prior cannabis-related charges to join them for this free event. So you guys, if you have prior cannabis-related charges, you are going to want to get to that expungement clinic so you can find out how to get your record expunged or sealed, right? And then Springfield City councilors praised plans for minority-owned cannabis store in McKnight neighborhood. So, you know, the Springfield City Council is considering a special permit for a proposed cannabis retail store at 666 State Street in the McKnight neighborhood. Now, it cited their local roots, minority ownership, and their plans for security, lighting, and parking during a city council hearing on Monday. Several of the councilors basically praised the plan, and they basically said that they love the fact that the background of the founders and the community activists, Lamont Clemens and Robert Kelly of Springfield, who are really planning this store, but they love the way they put the presentation together and what their intent is for getting this done. So it was the first night of the hearing, which is conducted remotely and over a 2-meeting span due to the coronavirus. They had to do this remotely, but the outcome was very positive. So we're going to be keeping our eyes on Lamont Clemens and also Robert Kelly in Springfield. In fact, we're going to reach out to them and see if we can have them on the show as well. And then finally, in the news, the legislature should support cannabis licensing process that prioritizes minority business ownership. The legislative leaders have announced their interest in passing legislation to place a referendum on the ballot next year legalizing recreational cannabis. As a result, Maryland is on the precipice of a decision that could have a lasting impact on minority entrepreneurs interested in pursuing new business opportunities in the recreational cannabis industry. So while the medical cannabis industry is booming in Maryland, the communities most disproportionately and negatively affected by this past drug laws are really, they're losing out. I mean, and so, during the 2017 medical cannabis licensing process, Maryland minority businesses were essentially shut out. And so that's why there was also the lawsuit and all of this other stuff going on. And of course, the state was sued, and 3 additional licenses had ensued from that from a disparity study that takes place. So if you guys haven't seen the business disparities in the Maryland market area, I want you guys to Google that and look that up, because it's really important to know that a study was actually done. In fact, they had required the activists in the industry to put together this study and to present it, right? And even though it was presented, it wasn't even taken into consideration, you guys. So, all I can tell you is that Maryland, we're keeping our eyes on you, and you guys have got to get better. I'm talking to the legislature right now, and this is my opinion, not the express consent of the NCIA, let me be clear, but you really need to get it together, you guys, because we are watching you, okay? When we return, we're going to learn more about Michael Webster, and guess what? If you guys are watching us on Facebook, go ahead and share, because you're going to want to hear his story. He is not only a social equity applicant, but activist. He's also a legacy owner. So we're excited to get him on, and look forward to having him on. So if you're on Facebook, share, get on here, get your friends on here, and we'll be right back after these messages.
I am the cannabis industry.
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 We are the cannabis industry.
And we are proving that regulation works.
Hey guys, we are back with Michael Webster, founder of Exspiravit.
There we go.
I told y'all he was going to correct me. I love it. He is an experienced cannabis professional and entrepreneur motivated by a desire to operate in the diverse and healthy regulated cannabis market. He has employed his voice to amplify the concerns and needs of social equity cannabis operators across the country. His advocacy for cannabis legalization has led him from the local level to the national stage. So in addition to his duties as founder and managing member of his company, which is a licensed cannabis company in the state of Michigan, we have Michael here on our show today to share with us more about his story. So Michael, welcome to the Cannabis Minority Report podcast. How are you doing today?
I'm well, Khadijah. Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it. I'm excited to be here.
Absolutely. And we are just as excited because we want to hear your story, because I read up about you and some amazing things. But first off, please tell the audience how to pronounce the name of your company.
Okay.
And how did you come up with that name?
You and I had this conversation in the green room, but I know that it rings like a pharmaceutical company. You expect to hear the disclaimer about sore ears and achy back if you take this product, but it's Exspiravit, and it's Latin. It's Latin for ghost. and it's tied to my story, to my journey, how I got into the industry.
Awesome. Well, tell us more about that. Tell us about
Sure.
your journey into cannabis.
Sure. So my cannabis journey has been a long and winding one. And I would say it's defined more by the people that I've connected with along the way, more so than the specific incidents. And that's something I would tell social equity applicants coming behind me is you're not always going to be cognizant of the journey as you're experiencing it. It takes some reflection. You'll know when there's enough in your rearview mirror to look back and start calling it a journey. But when I talk about the people who define my journey, the irony here is that it's been women. It has almost exclusively been women who have defined my journey. Now, I could go back and start with my mom, who was a fierce cannabis advocate, and then ultimately a victim of breast cancer, who employed cannabis as part of her therapy and her regimen. So she gave me my first, she planted the cannabis seeds, for lack of, no pun intended. But once I got into the business, I left New York and came here to Michigan to try to infiltrate the Michigan market, which was maturing a lot faster than other recreational markets. And we did come out of the legacy market, and our role in the legacy market, I was mostly non-plant touching. So I was someone who financed a lot of the caregiver grows and operations. We came into Michigan, we started leasing or buying houses that we could get our hands on and avoid the green tax. And we would, partner with caregivers or growers in the medical sector. There was a really gray area, as you know, like a lot of other states before they come in online. It was really gray. So that's how we got in. But the Exspiravit comes from, Exspiravit is Latin for ghost. And it used to be Exspiravit auctor, which is ghost writer. And that's another entry point that I made into the cannabis market. Was I was really disgusted and really I was just really put off by a lot of the descriptions you would see in content detailing strains. They spoke to these really grandiose kind of personal experiences. Oh, this will knock your head off or blow your socks off. And I thought, our cannabis consumers nowadays are much more educated, much more informed, and they need truth. So that was how we got into the content development space for cannabis. And then we were just kind of waiting around, seeing how things fleshed out. And when the rec market sort of settled here in Michigan, there weren't a lot of opportunities for us, and we did kind of get squeezed out. So we had to reinvent ourselves. And that's how we got connected with the social equity space. And I will give Michigan its credit. A lot of states talk the talk, but do not walk the walk. Michigan puts its money where its mouth is when it comes to social equity. And I want to, commend Director Brisboe and the folks at the MRA, particularly in the social equity group, who have really, rolled out the carpet for social equity applicants and provided an infrastructure through which we can, find our way into the market. It hasn't been easy, and they're not giving everything away, but
Yeah, so let me address a couple of things. I'm so sorry to hear about your mom. When I came into cannabis too, one of the experiences I had was meeting a lot of women who, were battling, a variety of different cancers. And so, I love the fact that she taught you along the way, right? So, because you didn't come in here with just no knowledge of cannabis, you came in here with the knowledge because she taught you, and you were going through with her and her process. And, and I love your story, how you said several things as an entrepreneur that I want our audience to really pay close attention to. That when you first came in, you came in and you fit in, you got in where you fit in, and you got in during that caregiver moment, right? Which I call the legacy market, right? You got in there, and then you said that, and then you had to wait and see where the industry was going before you knew your next move, right? And so sometimes we have to wait and see, and sometimes we do have to pivot as entrepreneurs. And you know, you're right. I believe Rebecca Collette, Latoya Rucker, and all of them, they had a major hand in how that social equity program in Michigan, you know, would go. And so my hat's off to them, and thank you for acknowledging them.
Absolutely.
So how has the social equity program helped you?
Well, in a variety of ways. So the social equity benefits started with applying for social equity status. So reaching out to the state, making a claim or an appeal, saying, you know, I was harmed by your arcane the war on drug policies. You know, I lived in this neighborhood that was over policed, you know, over incarcerated, you know, really adversely impacted. And that wasn't the gauntlet. They really, you know, they wrapped their arms around me and others and shepherded us through the process. It was a daunting process, but once you get that social equity status, then the floodgates kind of open up to you in terms of the resources that are in place. There are situated resources to be taken advantage of as a social equity applicant. And then it's just about managing those resources to a successful outcome. And I think that's what we did. And, you know, pursued licensure. Now, the social equity, the way things played out here in Michigan, there was a lot of low-hanging fruit when it came to licensure, right? So it's almost like they designed these specific licenses for social equity operators who, you know, weren't efficiently capitalized for big moves like a dispensary. But there was low-hanging fruit for us to get into the sector. And you have to humble yourself. You have to, like you said, you have to do what you're doing now, bring your current skill set. So I had a little bit of a history in promotion and event planning. So that was an easily attainable license that was available, was the marijuana event organizer license, which allows us to produce consumption events in the state of Michigan. So we grabbed that license really to show investors and other folks, strategic partners, that we were bona fide and that, you know, we had been vetted and were to be worked with. So that was a great opportunity. And then once, I don't want to use the term downhill from there, but we really got some traction once we secured that license, and we're pre-approved for the other license. We're rolling out our micro business license in the second quarter of 2022, vertically integrated, and we got a lot of big plans. But as far as the social equity path, it's incumbent upon the state to really roll that out. And I think if I could just pivot to a working definition of social equity, right? So we all hear this term social equity and we think it's a gift, like affirmative action. We're giving something to someone. Social equity has been earned and is to be accessed. So we're not begging multi-state operators or sources of funding to give us anything. We're asking them to let us access that which is ours. So the whole, my advice to social equity applicants would be to recognize your inherent right. You're the victim of the phenomenon that created the social equity space. So you're really just collecting, you're accessing, you're not asking for, you're not begging for, and you're not being gifted.
Yeah, and that was actually my third question for you. But my second question would be, and I want to touch more on the social equity piece, because you're absolutely right. It is something that has been earned, right? It is something that has been earned. And but as social equity applicants, there's still some work that we have to do. Okay.
Absolutely.
And we can't wait. Right. And I love the fact that you took the initiative to get the license that you could. And like you said, then you were able to gain traction, especially from investors. Because once they know you have one license to do something, man, that says a lot. It's now saying that you're taking action. That it's now saying that you have skin in the game. It's now saying that you are ready to take on investors because I have this license. And then, hey, the sky's the limit from there, because once you bring on the investors, now you can get the other licenses that you're going for. And so even though, social equity applicants have to understand that, you know, this is rightfully ours, right? This is rightfully ours. There's still some work that we must do in order, especially to show investors. because you have to literally convince investors on why they should invest in social equity applicants. And if you haven't made the move or have not been moving, you're not going to convince them. And so you guys did that. You convinced investors that, hey, we could get one license without you, right?
Yes.
Imagine what we can do with you. And here's that one license, right? And then you kind of move from there. So I'm really excited about that. So your company, you share the meaning of your company. You shared the correct enunciation and pronunciation.
Right.
Still haven't gotten it yet. Exspiravit.
Exspiravit. Exspiravit. Yes.
Spear.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
Exspiravit. So why did you start this company, Michael? And then tell us what social equity means to you, because on your license you mentioned that you support social equity as well on your website. And so share that with
Absolutely.
us.
So we started the company really because we embrace the idea of a regulated market, right? So, you know, we knew what was coming, you know, that the caregiver space was going to get squeezed out. The Black market, you know, it is what it is. And I'm not going to speak to that because I'm not going to disparage someone who is, you know, still in the legacy space. But the regulated market is the future. So the sooner you get into the regulated market, the quicker you have the opportunity to grow, because you can grow to great heights in the legacy market, but, you know, then have to pivot and start as an infant. So the sooner you can make traction in the regulated market. So that was the impetus for standing up the company Exspiravit. But as we got in, we started accessing so many resources that Exspiravit sort of morphed into more of a platform than a company, where we were envisioning launching different products. And it was almost like, you know, a home where we could partner with other social equity operators, bring them onto the platform, and then they could launch their projects. So that was kind of the meaning or the incentive for starting the company. And then also a generational wealth. And I got to shout out my wife, my lovely wife, Natasha, my 3 daughters. I have 3 beautiful daughters, Gabriella, Sochi.
Oh, you're a girl dad.
Couldn't miss them. And they, you know, represent my future, my legacy. So I wanted to build something that translated to generational wealth. And I think that's a misnomer. People think that when you get the license, you know, they're backing up the Brinks truck, they're dropping off the ATM on your front lawn, and you're wealthy. Even if you get rich initially, you're not wealthy. The type of generational wealth we're talking about is so that my daughters they can make business decisions without being beholden to predatory investors, that they can leverage what I built, you know, to live out their dreams and pursue their dreams.
Absolutely.
So,
they pick up where you left off.
Sorry?
I said they pick up where you left off.
Exactly. We joke that, you know, I'll never sell my company, but my kids will have the right to make that decision when their time comes. But so that's why we started the company. And then, you know, of course, to get this money, we've been adversely impacted by the over policing of cannabis for decades. And now it was turnabout is fair play. And, you know, it was clear that the multi-state operators and I'm not one that really disparage multi-state operators, because there are some folks out there, some organizations that are really doing great things. You know, other organizations that are really giving back in meaningful ways and, you know, putting us in position as small social equity operators to lift as we climb.
Yeah, Sayun is one. Sayun.
Absolutely. Sayun is an inspirational figure in the sector. You don't have to hear him speak, just his aura and his presence, you know.
Oh, yeah, you better believe it. That energy is off the wall.
Oh, man. And consistent as hell. I've never seen him down.
Yeah.
Never.
Absolutely. So let me ask you this, Michael, as a man of color in cannabis, what has been your experience and what are some of the challenges that you faced and overcome?
Sure. So as an African-American in this sector, you know, you're facing the same institutional barriers that you would across the board. You know, any business you want to get into, you know, there's implicit bias, there's institutional bias, there's, you know, sour relationships with lending institutions. And that's on top of the walled off, you know, access to banking and stuff like that. So it's twice as hard for us. What I found, what my experience has been informed by is allyship, right? True allyship, not good white folks who come in your space and then want to either tell you what to do, tell you how to do it. True partners. And I just got to take a minute and shout out some of those folks. Lisa Altschuler of High Garden Collective, of which I'm a founding member, the final founding member. This is a person who, you know, built her organization and then leaned into social equity, came to us. We didn't have to go to her making pictures. She came to us, you know, providing access. And, you know, like I said, with the state of Michigan, put their money where their mouth is. So there are other folks along the way of the farmer journey, other good white folks and folks of other races who see our role and why it's important for social equity, and specifically Black people, why we need to be elevated. We don't need this, you know, reverse racism or reverse affirmative act, any of that foolishness. What we need is a fair shot. We need
a level playing field. Yeah, absolutely. A level playing field is that's the only thing we ask, right? A level playing field, you know. So yeah.
And they paint it as if we're asking for something undue when it really is just equal access. Yeah.
Absolutely. I love that. I love the fact that you said allies, because being able to come together and collaboration is more powerful than competing. You know? And I love the fact that you said that the company wasn't just a company, it became a platform. And that's exactly what we need. We need a platform that we can actually go to, and you're leading by example and helping other people of color to really navigate their ways through these treacherous waters of cannabis. Because
they are treacherous, Khadijah. You know that.
Already know.
The treachery is significant.
Yeah, I'm telling you. So let me ask you, are you all raising capital at this time? And if so, can you talk about it? Or
I can talk briefly about it. I can't. I appreciate the the discretion and opportunity to be discreet and respect the boundaries, because you know what a delicate dance that is. But you know, it's a perfect not a segue, but I can circle back to the allyship. And true allyship is not just being there, partnering with, but sharing your resources. And what I found with folks like Lisa, with folks like Mike Blogner at Trusted Human Capital, these folks are opening doors, giving you access to non-traditional funding. I can't go to the bank and ask for a loan. I have to access the traditional methods of financing. And one thing that is really daunting is when you run the gauntlet and get through the gauntlet that is licensure, and you make it out, and I'm not going to say unscathed, but you make it to the other side. Who's waiting for you? These predatory investors who want to set you up for failure, take your company. The list goes on. But these good folks are introducing us to non-traditional methods of financing, family offices, private funding, land deals, and that has been the lane that we slipped into. And, knock on wood, but it's been a smooth ride so far. And we're in the middle of a raise now, and we have a second raise coming up second quarter of 2022. And we're just excited. We're really excited about the opportunities for capital that align it. And before we pivot, Khadijah, I'll get in trouble if I don't. Rebecca Collette. You weren't supposed to mention her before I did. The queen. When I say that women have been responsible for my success, she's at the top of that list. The queen bee. She did for us in the Detroit Cannabis Project, our incubator program. She did for us what no other could do, and that was, lift while she was climbing. She's an operator, but the things that she's done for us are just amazing. And I just had to take a second to acknowledge her reign over, the social equity cannabis space that I know.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. Rebecca is, she is one to be about it, and not just, so she'll speak about it. She'll tell you, but she's actually going to show you better than she can actually tell you. And I love that about her. I love her audacity. She has the audacity to do whatever she wants to do.
The audacity.
She doesn't allow anybody. She does have it. And let me tell you another thing that she has, what I respect. When she was raising capital, I was putting her on the line with different investors, this, that, and the other. She knows what she wants.
Yes.
She knew what she wanted, what she would accept. And that's what I share with entrepreneurs. Know where you're going and know what you want. Have a crystal clear vision, because you are the opportunity, not the investors, right? That's why it's called business opportunities, right? And so, yeah, so I share that. So let me just ask you, what kind of advice would you give to social equity applicants seeking assistance with licensing?
Okay. So that's a loaded question, but I'm gonna try to meet the moment here. Okay. Obviously, everyone's journey is different.
Yeah.
But my specific advice to those coming behind me on the social equity path is lean into the low-hanging fruit that are available resources. The period during the lockdown with the pandemic, there were tons and tons of webinars, Zooms, free resources. Khadijah, I probably racked up closing in on $100,000 worth of consulting fees, or consulting service, because I took advantage. Right after they lifted the lockdown, we took the family down to Florida. For 3 weeks, I spent most of the time on Zooms and webinars. So I would tell them, access that which is available. What else? If you want to go far, go together. If you want to go slow, if you want to go fast, go by yourself. And I think that's something you told me, Khadijah. If you want to go fast, go by yourself. You want to go far, go together. Everyone is not going to make it to the top of this industry on their first try, but you increase your chances exponentially when you lock arms with other like-minded folks, good people who share your values, not just your aspirations, but your values. Walk with them. My team, Sorrell Mack, James Tolbert, my master cultivator, Mark Hutchins. These are folks who, I don't have super long histories with, but we connected, shared values, and they have made Exspiravit what it is, and put me in position to share advice. So I would tell those social equity operators coming behind me, be patient, go slow, cross your T's, dot your I's, and do not be discouraged.
That's right.
Khadijah, that the notice of deficiency is par for the course. If you're not getting a notice of deficiency, you're doing something wrong. Right? And I'm referring to licensure for those who are not catching on what I'm saying. But don't be intimidated by things like that. Work the process, work the free available resources. And like you said, just to circle back, you are the talent, you are the draw, you are the opportunity. Don't let an investor come along and tell you, oh, well, I'm gonna do this for you. No, I'm going to allow you to do this for me, or we can do this together. And the last thing I would tell them is, you're not going to find, when it comes to capital, and God bless you get that far, but when it comes to capital, you're not going to find the perfect investment model. You're not going to find that. You have to be willing to part with some equity, a significant chunk, if you don't have a history of return on investment. So that's something that I had to embrace was, keep my first project. If I want to be successful, keep my first project tight, condensed, give away a piece of equity, show that successful return on investment, and then move on to the next project where you won't have to give away, the store, because you've shown investors I'm viable. I can get your money back. I can get you 10x. I can get you 20x, 100x, whatever it is. And I'm a viable operation. So those are things I would share. And then of course I would say, get into an incubator program, not one that's charging you and wants to, take phantom equity in your company, but get with somebody like Rebecca Collette, the Detroit Cannabis Project, where she convinced the city to allocate funds per head. I don't know what the exact number. I've heard 10,000 per head, but that's an amazing with 60, 75 people in the group. So those kind of things would encapsulate my advice to
Absolutely.
people.
And I love that, because as an entrepreneur, you're saying, hey, look, this is not a get rich quick scheme. You got to come in here and do the work. You have to have a crystal clear vision of where you're going. You have to align with like-minded individuals that are willing to collaborate with you and lift you up, you know, and take you to the next level. And you have to stay the course. You know, that's my next t-shirt. My next t-shirt is going to say, stay the course.
Stay the course.
Because no matter what happens, you're going to always have obstacles. And the winner is the one who perseveres through those obstacles, right? And really make that impact. Because when you get to the other side, like you said, it's a lot of sharks waiting over there.
Oh, man, circling.
And guess what? Not all sharks are bad sharks. There's some sharks that don't even eat meat, right? But at the end of the day, you know, you want to make sure that you align accordingly and get with people who really have proof of success in this industry. And yes, you're right, Rebecca Collette. Also, too, part of the Detroit project, we had RMCC. In fact, I have
okay. So you beat me to the punch. I was about to call out Brianne and Debbie.
That's right.
Those are two. When I talk about the women who define my journey, two amazing. Brianne Ramsey and Debbie Speranza, they took a chance on me, and I'm the better for it. So
yeah, absolutely. I'm excited about RMCC. I actually sponsored like 10 social equity applicants to actually participate in the program. I love what they're doing, and they have provided that education that can last a lifetime and can take you farther. So, you know, so how can social equity applicants and even investors reach out to you? Sure.
So circling back to what a social equity applicant should do to position themselves for success, you have to be accessible. You have to maintain a presence. So we're on the social media platforms. We're on Instagram as Exspiravit_solutions. You know, we're very active on LinkedIn, but it's also about, you know, making your presence felt on the ground, getting out there. We're at events, we're at the expungement events, we're at the trade shows, we're at the conferences, but the website is exspiravit.com. Again, Instagram, any of the social media platforms, and then word of mouth. I would like to think that I've made enough substantive connections in this sector, you know, as burgeoning as it is, that somebody might know me and have a kind word to say about me, whether it's Ben Gelt at CanAssert, or Adam Duke at Six Labs, or my good friend Jim at Flow Technology. These are folks who, you know, are informing my network and being that connective tissue so that I can get, you know, that meeting or that phone call or that introduction that I ordinarily wouldn't get. So yeah, you know, we lean in with two things, Khadijah. One is the social equity access, the lane. The other is compliance. So when you mentioned RMCC, it's all about compliance for us because this is still a tricky, landmine laden landscape, and you can easily set yourself back. So if you lead with compliance and keep that buffer between you and detriment, then you'll go far. You'll be successful. You'll leave room. So yeah.
Well, Michael, I want to thank you so much for being a special guest on our show. And listen, we really want to have you back in the future. Check on your progress, see how we can help you and other social equity applicants. And, you know, I'm just so excited and proud of you.
Khadijah, you know, I almost want to reject that just because it's not appropriate. The thanks should be coming your way. The things that you're doing in this space. You were one of the first guest speakers at the DCP that I had the pleasure of listening to, and the inspiration that you gave me personally has been amazing. And then the access you gave me when I reached out about this opportunity, you know, you didn't run me through the ringer. Let's go. So, you know, thank you for what you're doing, and please keep it up, because there are plenty of other social equity operators out here who can benefit from what you're doing. Let us stand a little bit in your light, and we're going to grow like that good plan. Before I go, if I could just acknowledge 3 of my strategic partners real quick. Camouflage Sounds out of New York, Metro New York event promoters, My BK Life, and the Bronx Brand. 3 good strategic partners who we're looking to do business with once we infiltrate that New York market, once I get home. Prodigal Son is coming home.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I love that the Prodigal Son is coming home. In fact, that is the title of your next article, so we can get that published. I'm so excited for you and so proud of you for making such an impact in the industry, for staying the course. And also for not only reaching back to lend a hand up, not a hand out, but a hand up.
Yes.
That's amazing, because we need more African-American men in this cannabis industry to take the lead and really also help others and elevate others. So thanks for being on, and we wish you so much success.
Thank you.
Stick around. We'll definitely come back and circle back after the show.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Hey, y'all. So be sure to subscribe to our Cannabis Minority Report on Spotify, Stitcher, Apple Podcasts, or anywhere you find your favorite platforms to make sure that you don't miss this. If you miss Michael today, then you missed something really good, but then don't fret. We're going to actually have this posted on our website at the National Cannabis Industry, or cannabisindustry.org. And then we're going to also, have this posted in our social media on Facebook. So stick around, you guys. Instead of us going to a commercial break right now, we are going to go back to Detroit from when I interviewed Justin Hatchett, a cannabis consultant who is opening Michigan's first equity licensed consumption lounge as we speak. Let's roll the tape minutes.
So tell us a little bit about you and about what you're doing here in cannabis and here in Detroit.
Sure. So my name is Justin Hatchett. I'm a private consultant in the cannabis space. I help different brands get their license, obtain their license, operations, business plans, all of that stuff. I'm currently one of the founders of Blue Amsterdam LLC, which is the first adult use consumption lounge license awarded in the state.
Nice. So are we open yet?
No, we're not open yet.
Okay.
We've been doing a municipality hunt. We've been going back and forth and figuring out what's going to be a good fit city-wise.
Yeah.
And over this last quarter, we actually narrowed that down to Ypsilanti. So we're most likely going to be opening in Ypsi in the next 3 to 6 months.
All right, so I'm gonna have to look for my invitation in real time.
Yes, you will.
Absolutely, because you know I gotta come over there and puff pass with you, brother.
You have to. Social consumption is so important right now in our industry. It's the one thing that's gonna push everything forward.
I agree with that.
So, I was honored to speak yesterday here and do a panel, and thank you to Tatiana and Kevin and everybody that participated in our panel, and Kay for being a great moderator. Yeah. It's a great experience and a great time to be involved in cannabis right now.
Absolutely.
Sure.
And so being here at the Midwest Cannabis Conference, and the NCIA puts on these conferences, and so what has been your experience outside of the speaking experience educationally?
So one, I love the connections that come from conferences.
Okay.
It's great to have so many like-minded people all in the same vicinity, so where we can actually pick each other's brains for a little bit. So that's my number one thing. You guys have an amazing amount of members, a lot of supporters, sponsors, everyone that comes together to really put on this great event. So for me, and I've been touring for like the last 3 years in cannabis and going to different conferences, including Benzinga and a couple other ones. So it's like, for me, coming to a conference here in my hometown and seeing this and the inclusion in seeing this, it's beautiful.
Yeah.
It's absolutely stunning. I loved it. Loved every minute of it.
Yeah, I tell you what, back in the day in 2014, at one point the NCIA got a bad rap about diversity. What can you say about the NCIA 2021 as it relates to diversity and what you've seen from this conference?
Oh, well, personally, I can say to that statement, it's a complete 180. This is one of the most inclusive conferences I've ever been to, honestly, in my life.
Yeah.
Like, there's a lot more inclusion. There are a lot more minority entrepreneurs. There's the indigenous aspect to it. There are a lot of representation from all sides and all walks of life here. So for me personally, I feel like that's part to do with Detroit, because that's who we are. That's, how we get stuff done. That's how we roll, right? What up, though? But that's exactly what it is. So, I mean, for us to all come together, and even the other panelists, Calvin Johnson, Rob Sims, I've networked with them for years now. And, be on the same platforms as them and be able to really talk about where we're at in our stages and our businesses is what we need. It's really what we need. So for more of these to happen is what I would want.
Absolutely. So tell our audience, how can people reach out to you? How can they hit you up?
Yeah, so reach out to me on LinkedIn, Justin Hatchett, Justin Hatchett. Google also works. If you want to Google me, you can find me on there and reach out to that. And then Instagram, my Instagram is JustInTouch, JUST_INTOUCH.
Awesome. Well, we totally appreciate you. Thank you for being on.
Thank
And
you
we're going to
leaving
have
the door open.
Let me tell you, we're going to have to interview you in 2022.
Sure.
Because we want to find out more about Blue Amsterdam, what you're doing. We want to find out about your
Definitely.
progress. And
Definitely.
especially about that consumption lounge. Cannot wait. Congratulations.
Thank you
Hats
so
off
much.
to you. Thanks again for your time.
All right, love.
You guys, check out the NCIA's member news blog and the industry insights that includes our NCIA member spotlight series. And, we actually highlight some of our new members who joined us through the Social Equity Scholarship Program that we offer. So don't forget to download the NCIA's mobile app. And guess what? Don't forget to join us at the NCIA's Cannabis Business Summit, December 15th through the 17th in San Francisco, California. Not only is your girl gonna be there, but I'm gonna be moderating, so I need to see your face, right? Make sure that you're there. And a special shout out to our sponsors, Tahoe Wellness Center. Thank you so much. The law offices of Omar Figueroa. I love him. Y'all gotta check him out. And then Copper State Farms. Love them too. And thank you so much. We really appreciate the support. And for those of you, if this is your first time joining us, the mission of the DEIC committee is to educate, to advocate, to engage and empower the community of cannabis and its members by cultivating partnerships with other nonprofit organizations with similar goals, providing resources that create and sustain an environment that is not only inclusive, but is equitable and diverse. We are committed to building a culture that respects our members and celebrates their contributions as we all work together to strengthen all communities in the cannabis space. If you or someone you know would like to be on the Cannabis Minority Report, better hit your girl up at info@khadijahadams.com. info@khadijahadams.com. Until next Monday, peace, love, and hippie stuff.
NCIA's Cannabis Minority Report is a product of the National Cannabis Industry Association and NCIA's Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Committee. We are hosted every week by Khadijah Adams. Our executive producers are Aaron Smith and Vince Chandler. We are directed by Vince Chandler and produced by Bethany Moore. Please, please, please find out everything you can about the growing and equitable cannabis industry at thecannabisindustry.org.